Hello, hello. Yes, there we are. So many people in the chat and on screen. Oh my gosh, it's just a lot everywhere, basically. How are you doing? Another month has passed. Last month I wasn't there because reasons. I don't even remember why, but bad planning probably. But here we are. I think we got the team complete. We now have. We're going to get into how Jay is getting here and who he is exactly. But I think we have almost coverage across the globe now. We have Australia, we have United States, we have Ukraine, Brazil, UK. Oh, sorry, Jay. I think it's Korea somewhere.
Yes, South Korea it is.
South Korea, fantastic, and the Netherlands. So yeah, we got it all the good places, basically, here in one screen. Amazing. So we were always doing like, how's it going with everyone? But it's a lot of people now, maybe to go and ask that. So we're going to talk about just the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit because I'm looking here at the agenda and we have a very full schedule. I'm already wondering if we're going to go get through all of it. So let's just skip that. Let's start with here what someone, I think Brandon, is putting on the screen here. We have just released today a new version of the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit markup package, the C# markup extension package, with a couple of good new things. Most of all, the better app theme and support and that kind of stuff. I think, Sean, I think you had something to do with that.
Yes. So the PR came in from a community member, Federico, who gave us the ability to define app theme bindings fluently, because it's a bit of a challenge in terms when you're building it in C#. So it's a lot cleaner now.
Perfect. So we have that. We have the docs ready as well, because that's how we enforce our PRs. We need to have those docs if we want to release it. So we got it all. You know how to use it. Here we are. Set app theme binding. You can just put it on your C# for markup. I don't know what I'm talking about. I never use it. I'm sorry. I know, Brandon, you like it. So maybe you can talk about it.
Yeah. So basically just makes it really easy to do anything with the app theme that's built into .NET MAUI. So previously, if you wanted to assign a certain color for dark mode, a certain color for light mode for your app, whether that be for a background color or text color on your label, anything, where you can set a color or set any sort of, well, really anything. It's a bit of a pain. So yeah, we got this awesome PR in from Federico that adds us in. Sean added in support for the same using styles, which is really cool. And then the other big part of this was the text alignment support. So I kind of broke the text alignment extensions in the last release. It was to fix what was already broken. So the text alignment extensions were broken. The MAUI team changed something out from underneath us. So I fixed that. But then the way I did it was using source generators with a lot of help from Pedro. Thank you, Pedro. And when we pushed out that release, we found a new bug that the text alignment extensions now weren't working for if you want to create your own custom view. So if you have a view that inherited from text alignment, I think is the interface. Yep, text alignment, then your custom view wasn't getting the extension method. So updated the source generator to support that, just merged that in this week. And you'll see us slowly start to add and implement more and more source generators as time goes on, because we want to be able to support as much as possible for your .NET MAUI apps. But to do that, we have to use the interfaces, but then the interfaces in .NET MAUI are all read-only. So we use the source generators to detect where you're using the interfaces, and then we kind of make our own custom implementation based off of that. So it's really fun. It's really cool. If you want to check out source generators, check out the repo. But other than that, yeah, text alignment extension should be fixed for everybody. Hooray.
Woohoo. That sounds good. All right. And I think, talking about releases, we've got this up. I saw some other activity today about the regular .NET MAUI Community Toolkit version as well. So I think we got a couple of nice features lined up for that as well. And yeah, we have this little event coming up, .NET Conf. Maybe you've heard of it. Next week, I think next Tuesday, where that's the event where the new .NET version, so in this case .NET 7, is going to be released, and we expect that .NET MAUI is then also going to be released. So we're going to align with that for our regular .NET MAUI Community Toolkit version to release that as well. So that's probably going to be next week with a couple of great new features as well. Which brings me to the next thing, because we kind of skipped over that with the intro. We have Jay now, and the reason that we kind of like asked Jay to come on, because, well, a big part of the reason is that he's now part of our core team, which is amazing. So welcome. But the reason for that is that the Tizen team came with a crazy cool PR that basically added support for everything, but now for Tizen. So, we have full support for Tizen for all the things in the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit as well. And we thought, like, hey, if we're going to have all this stuff for Tizen, then it makes sense to someone from the Tizen team join our Community Toolkit team as well, right? So hopefully we can make the support for all the things even better. So Jay, maybe we already know that you're from South Korea, but maybe you want to tell a little bit about who you are, what you do?
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Cho. Am I sounding right?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. I'm a software developer at Samsung Electronics, working on Tizen.NET open source projects. I'm very excited to join this incredible group with all of these amazing people around me. I will do my best to contribute and fit in this community and help you out with Tizen. It's 4 in the morning over here in Seoul, South Korea, so it's still dark outside. But I'll keep my eyes open until the ends of the stands up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's amazing that you are willing to be here at this time. And I think for you it's 4. I think for Kim it's 5 a.m. So early in the morning. I hope you have some coffee if that's what you drink, or some other way to wake yourself up. Maybe a cold shower. I don't know. Yeah, Jay, it's amazing to have you here, and of course the rest of the Tizen team as well. I've mentioned it on several occasions here on this stream and everywhere else as well. You do amazing work with, for Xamarin Forms, already implementing all of the stuff right after we implemented something. Then boom, you come along and you implement all the stuff as well. And now for the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit as well. So thank you so much for that. And I hope we can, bring all the features also to Tizen. That will be amazing.
They'll be amazing.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, I think you already brought it up on screen, Brandon, a little bit. Like, we have that PR. We need to merge that, and then we want to release the Tizen support as our next version as well, right? So I see in our notes we still have to decide if that's going to be 1.40 or version 2. Right? So maybe this is a good opportunity to go to version 2 because it's a new major thing. You're going to say something?
Yeah, to fill everybody in the community, here's what we're thinking for moving forward with .NET 7 coming out, and also bringing in Tizen support. So the Tizen support requires us to bump our .NET MAUI dependency. We've kept our dependency pinned to the first release of .NET MAUI to keep everything usable for everybody. Tizen requires us to bump that to a newer minor version. So we'll be going from, I think, .NET 6.0.3 to .NET 6.0.4 something. And so what we plan on doing is we are going to merge this Tizen PR on the same day that .NET MAUI releases support for .NET 7. And we're going to do it this way because we're also going to merge the .NET 7 support PR, this one right here, on the same day. But the plan is we're going to merge support for Tizen, publish a release, then merge support for .NET 7 and publish a second release on the same day. The idea being we have to bump up our dependency to support Tizen. So we want to make sure that we don't, how do you say it? we want to bring in Tizen support into .NET 6 before we jump all the way to .NET 7, but also Tizen support requires us bumping that dependency, which is technically a breaking change. So yeah, what I want to chat with you guys today was how should we do our versioning? So we will be incrementing our .NET SDK from 6.0.3 to 6.0.4 for Tizen. So we can either release Tizen as version, what's next? I think 1.4 of the community toolkit, or we can release Tizen as version 2.0. And then the next release on the same day, that'll add support for .NET 7, will be a major increment from that. So either we call the Tizen release version 1.4.0, and then we call the .NET 7 support version 2.0.0, or we call the release with the Tizen support version 2.0.0, and then the .NET 7 release will be version 3.0. But yeah, I want to get everybody's thoughts because it's kind of a lot.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, we should go to version 2.0 for Tizen, and then the 3.0 for .NET 7, because I believe this is the pattern that .NET packages follows. You know, if you have breaking changes, you update the major version, and if it's just bug fixes or nothing breaking, we update the minor version. That way, users can, look the number of the package, and they can realize that maybe there is some breaking change and they need to care about. But if they just look at the minor version, maybe they be surprised to find something not building or something not working.
From my opinion, first of all, I would say that we need to release probably three. We have to have 3 releases because first of all, I think we need to have a bug fixes for all which we have right now. Then we'll merge Tizen, and after that we'll release .NET 7. Probably it will be best for those who want to stay on the minor version, on the smallest version of .NET MAUI. Then we bring up version of .NET MAUI and add Tizen. And in that case, for those who don't need Tizen dependency, they can remain on the smallest version of .NET MAUI. Also, I would say, from my opinion, we should release like 1.4 for Tizen and have a version 1. It's a major version for .NET 6. And for .NET 7, we will have version 2 and later. Why I suggested just even with .NET MAUI and Tizen, they still have a major version .NET 6, and even with breaking changes there, they still remain on version 6 of .NET. So probably we should also follow this way and just update the minor version without releasing the major version.
Sean, what do you think?
I'm more of the opinion, I think, what Pedro was saying, in the fact that if we're going to release before multiple releases with breaking changes, we indicate that with the major version. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd release multiple breaking changes in one release, but I appreciate why we're doing two releases so quickly. Yeah. Because 6 is the LTS, isn't it? Which is why we want to put Tizen on that, really. Yeah. Sorry, my voice is a bit gruff if I'm talking too quietly. It's the weather's
sound great. It's I noticed it when you were introducing the release earlier. Okay, cool. Kim, what are your thoughts?
I don't have any particularly strong thoughts regarding this. But yeah, I don't know. I think I mean, is the desire to stick with 1.4 in the smallest dependency for those who don't want to go .NET 7? Is that ultimately what we're?
Yep. So yeah, for anybody that can't or isn't updating their .NET MAUI app to .NET 7, then they'll still be able to use our older NuGet packages. And yeah, definitely agree with Vlad. That was a really good point about we should push out a release before pushing out the Tizen release, so that everybody can get those bug fixes without the breaking changes. So we'll definitely do that, assuming Gerald's up to it.
He's a
But
machine.
another
He's
release
got
on the
this.
I have a
I'll release
suggestion
whatever you want.
for that. Like, we can release a new version right now because we already released the markup extension, Nougat version. We can like do right now one for the MAUI, and we freeze the merges until the .NET Conf. Then we don't need to worry too much about having a lot of releases in a short period of time.
I think that sounds
Makes
good.
sense. Yeah.
Do we have any? I know we merged a couple PRs earlier this week. Are there any more we need to or want to squeeze in? Speaking of bug fixes.
Let me double check because I don't remember.
No worries.
Let me know. I'll release it right now. I'll release it right
We'll
now.
do it live. And
No, on my side is everything good.
Kim, what are your thoughts on the versioning? So should we bump the major version for the Tizen release?
Probably. I mean, if it's a breaking change, then that's a standard, right? So I don't know. Yeah.
All right. I figure we'll get everybody's vote on it, and then just roll with that. I'm pretty indifferent. It's not like, if we were on versions, if we called this .NET MAUI Community Toolkit version 6 because it aligned with .NET 6, then I'd be feel more pressured to stay or to avoid bumping the major version until we go to 7. But what's the difference between version 1 and version 2 of .NET MAUI Community Toolkit? Sounds like it's going to be Tizen.
Is it really a breaking change as we understand it? It's like only updating the framework version, which depends without but .NET MAUI itself remains the same for those who use it. Just like the code remains the same for users. So in terms of .NET 6, they do not need to change anything and it should work. So is it really like a breaking change in terms of how I understand it?
Yeah, that's kind of the same question I had, because .NET 6.0.4 will have bug fixes in it that obviously weren't there for 6.0.3. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I haven't done any testing. And I don't have time to run through all those scenarios and make sure everything works. So I don't know, if we're being really safe, if we bump the major version number, then nobody can get mad at us if something did break. That's one positive. But yeah, I tell you what, let's do a quick vote. So we'll definitely do what Vlad said. I think that makes a lot of sense to push out a release before we merge Tizen. And I also like the idea of freezing the PRs unless there's 1 or 2 bug fixes that are ready to merge today. But for the Tizen release, let's do a show of hands. Who wants to call the Tizen release version 2.0.0? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. All right, majority wins. Sold. We'll call it version 2. It'll have Tizen support, and it'll still be on .NET 6. Then we'll, the same day, push out one with .NET 7 support. That'll be version 3. And somewhere between now and then, we'll get what's next, version 1.4.0, because we added in the new state container feature. I think there's another new feature in there, along with some bug fixes too. So
if we are going to do that, will it complicate our branching stuff? Do we suddenly have to now maintain 3 versions next to each other?
No, please no.
No, I mean, none of us get paid to do this. I think if we all worked at Microsoft and there was budgets behind this, sure. But yeah, we'll just keep moving forward. So the new features will come only to .NET 7 once we've merged in .NET 7 support.
If that's the case, do we really need to be worrying about bumping multiple major versions? If we're only going to start pushing new features onto version 3, why don't we just go with version 2 and push everything into one breaking change?
So
The only
that anybody staying on .NET 6 can use the Tizen, the Tizen PR.
Are we hopeful that we're going to rely on that? Because obviously we're going to be fixing stuff on .NET 7 anyway. So if people are going to want newer versions, they're going to have to go up to 7. We're not going to provide bug fixes for 6, are we?
Right.
Yeah, the thing is, I believe, is the how .NET is released, as I mentioned on the YouTube. Like the .NET 6 is the long-term support, so there is some companies that want to be on the long-term support and not bump up the version, and maybe probably they will bump to the .NET 8, that is the next long-term support .NET version. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out there too. Anybody in the community that maybe wants to jump in, maybe somebody out there wants to kind of go that extra mile and bring our bug fixes and backport them to previous releases, that'd be great. I'm not against that, but for us and the team we have right now, yeah, we'll just keep looking forward and moving forward, I should say.
Yeah, and we'll see, right? It's not like we have to kind of like keep those branches around. We can just go to the commit of the tag that we created and then create something from there if it's really needed. Like if we have a bug fix that is like super major important to a lot of people, then we can always decide like, okay, let's do another release based on this commit, blah, blah, blah. So we can still basically decide that afterwards. But all right, makes sense. Cool. We're already running out of time, so let's go to the next thing. We decided, but this was an important thing, right? So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Then we got a good number of proposals that we want to bring in then for version 3 and onwards. And the first of which is the lazy view. And Kim is a bit lazy, so he has been
Very
working
lazy.
on it.
I'm super lazy. This one came out of a discussion that I saw with a customer. There was a couple of things that they really, really needed to go from Xamarin across to MAUI. So one of them was touch effect, I think, and the other one was lazy view as well. And so I put this proposal in and thought, hey, look, this, and I think this is Pedro's work. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pedro. But the lazy view exists in the Xamarin Community Toolkit, and it basically allows you to do some lazy initialization of views, which is really handy if you've, with your startup times, to make sure that your views aren't delaying the whole startup that aren't even visible yet. So it allows that. And this proposal really is to just bring across what exists in the Xamarin Community Toolkit across into the MAUI Community Toolkit. So that's the vibe. What else do we need to talk about with this one?
Nothing really. I think technically we need to vote if we want to have this. Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I think I added a comment, but the point being is currently it relies on newing up the view. I was wondering whether we could potentially utilize the power that comes with .NET MAUI now and use some of the DI. So if someone wanted to create it, then they could bring in all of the dependencies into that view rather than having to work around it. But that's only a minor detail in the implementation, really. Then.
Yeah, I believe that this will be very easy. We can just like grab the service and see if the page, the service will return the page. If it's null, we create new in it. But I'm not sure if the service will throw exception if the service doesn't exist, or if it will just return null. Yeah, I don't know.
There's different ways of calling, isn't there? I think you can. Oh, sorry. Got my little dog that wanted to come in.
You are muted, Brandon, if you say something.
Oh, sorry. I think, I believe Shell will throw an exception if it doesn't exist in your dependency injection container. But yeah, I think if you're trying to manually get it out of the container, you can, I think this is where Sean was going. There's like get required service versus get service.
Yep.
And if it's required, that'll throw an exception. But if you just say like get service, it returns null.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. I think I like Kim said, like, this is also which is not something that should determine our course, obviously, but this is also something that came out of a customer request for Microsoft. So I think that the first kind of like priority is to port this over. And if there is things that we can, easily improve on top of this, I think definitely we should do that. This might be one of those things. But I think, if we should vote primarily first now, should we want to bring this over, yes or no? And from there, see if we can, get that first version in there and then iterate on it from there, basically. So, all right, then official voting time. Jay, you get to vote on a lot of things already just here. So who is in favor of adding this to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit?
Hey,
all right, there we go.
Unanimous.
There
Nice.
we go. Done. So Kim, tomorrow can we merge this?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, next thing is the is in range converter. And is this something? I see Jay's name behind this. Is this something that you know anything about, Jay?
Yeah, I brought a proposal here. Is in range converter, thanks to Brandon. It seems we already had this converter in Xamarin Community Toolkit. As you guys already figured out, the name shows that this converter checks if the value is between min value and the max value and returns true or false, depends on the value. I definitely think it's useful for many apps and developers. Plus, we already have George, who is already have a working prototype. I saw George on the chat. I said hi to him. Thanks, George. I saw George on the chat. He has a nice sample app here too. If you go down below a little bit, he also has a sample app here too. So I think we have no reason not to have this converter. So I championed it the first time I championed the proposal, and I would like to bring this proposal to a vote.
Awesome, man! You're doing better than we do. You already know how to work with this stuff. It's amazing. All right, so is in range converter. Any questions? Any concerns here?
No, it seems pretty straightforward, and there's actually a PR. So I don't know if you know this, Jay. George actually opened a PR for us. We just hadn't approved it yet. So somewhere in here, while we're voting, I'll see if I can find it and pull it up. We can reopen George's PR, assuming we all vote to approve it and move forward with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Then voting. Who
Just
wants
a-
this in? Oh,
Just a small question. Is it
Yeah,
works
sure.
only for numbers, or it works for any kind, like, for example, isn't, I don't know, date name, something else?
I don't know.
Should be limited
I
to
th-
only something.
I think it supports dates. I think I saw that.
Brandon
in
is
the-
clicking all the things. All the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, let's vote.
Okay. I'll just stop sharing my screen. I can't find it right now.
All right. I was okay. Okay. We're very professional. George says,
Yeah,
scroll
show
down,
it.
see the screenshot. Anyway, yes. Who wants this in? Vote. Do we want to have this? Isn't range converter? All right. Boom. Another one that we get in. So George, we didn't see the screenshot, but I trust that you have done some amazing work. So we're gonna dig up that PR, and this should be in very easily. All right. Cool. What else do we have? Open PRs. So Jay, let's see if you can talk some more about the add Tizen support. I think we already discussed most of it, but yeah, maybe you have something to add about what's going on here. What did you do? Was it a lot of work?
Oh, all right. So maybe before we jump into this Tizen PR, is it okay if I introduce a little bit of what Tizen is?
Absolutely, yes.
I guess some may have heard of Tizen because we've been supporting Xamarin Phones for a couple of years ago. But I know there's still will be lots of people, like, they look into the CS project file of .NET MAUI app template and say, like, what is this commented Tizen thing here? Because, well, it's a big achievement to Tizen, but that it is included in the app template as one of the target framework. but it is commented so it doesn't bother you. So in short, about Tizen, it is an open source OS maintained by Samsung. It is designed and optimized for multiple device profiles like TVs, wearables, fridge, IoT, and other consumer electronic devices. We just have publicly released the latest Tizen 7.0 version this week, and .NET 6 and MAUI is supported from this version. So as now we have the Tizen 7.0 SDK. For those of you who wants to try out Tizen, you can start from our landing page, github.com Samsung/Tizen.net. I'm gonna paste it over here to the YouTube chat. I promise I will update more wiki pages for you guys. So you can find me in the community or definitely in Samsung's Tizen.net GitHub. So ask me questions for the deep dive into Tizen. Okay, and that was a long intro for Tizen. Let's get back into the PR. So as now Tizen supports MAUI from the latest Tizen platform. MAUI Community Toolkit will be absolutely the top library that Tizen has to support, right? So this PR implements the Tizen port, and I'm very happy that I can share this in the stand-ups. So thanks to Myroot, one of my teammates, a great guy, he implemented this Tizen implementation. So just one thing we had was that we had to update the build pipeline to use MAUI 6.0.500 because underneath the MAUI Tizen code, the UI backend engine is whole changes from what is called EFL to NUI. And at the bottom of this PR, I put one link that shows how it runs on Tizen emulators. So if you go, can you go down to the very bottom? I put one link over there. Yeah, there you go. So here I prepared two emulators. One is TV and the other is mobile. I think you can think of this mobile emulator as one of the IoT devices or the fridge. So it looks a bit slow, but if you go to the link, then you can see this is how the Community Toolkit sample app runs on TVs. And definitely Tizen can take advantage of all the shared code like behaviors, like converters and things. And then this PR implements the native controls like toast pop-up and what else we have? Like drawing view and anchor pop-up with anchor. It's probably hard to use the drawing view on the TV, but it definitely works on other devices. So on the down below, you can see the mobile apps that runs pretty much similar, just like other platforms. So
this is
please
really
merge.
cool. I need to get a refrigerator now that has Tizen,
Yeah.
and then I can use all this stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
So do you get like test devices then? Do you get like a new refrigerator to test like your new
Actually,
stuff at home?
there's some kind of like a tablet that's attached on the fridge. So we just
I
get
gotcha.
the tablet.
Oh, they just get that one.
That's how
Boring. All right. That's cool. No, again, I said it a couple of times already, but this is amazing work. Thank you so much for that. I really love
Thanks.
it. So yeah, and now we have you on our team. So we're going to try to work together, and everything that's not shared, obviously, like the is-rage converter, that's something that's shared that works out of the box on Tizen as well. But we also have like the media element coming up, which would be amazing, of course, if we could support that on Tizen as well. So we're going to work together. That's why we have you on the team with the Tizen team directly to see if we can make that work all on Tizen. So we have day one support for everything on Tizen as well. Cool. Yes, and good call on the introduction on Tizen, because I kind of like, I know what it is, so I kind of assume that everyone knows. That's kind of like my pitfall sometimes. Cool. Vlad, you have been working on the actual .NET 7 support that we've been mentioning as well. So how hard was that?
Well, .NET 7 brings a lot of breaking changes in terms of nullable. So when I migrated, I get more than 1,000 errors in our code, where we had a nullable there, but fixing one by one, and now we have a working PR. So it will be matched when .NET 7 will be released. So it also fixes some issues with animation. And also it fixes the issue that now we will support iOS 11 and later, which was not available with .NET 6. So yeah, it was a bit unexpected, but yeah, as you know, .NET MAUI supported .NET 10, but we bring our version starting from 14, if I'm not mistaken. So now we add support for all our versions, which .NET MAUI support, and yeah, that's it. Also, I probably will need help from Jay with migrating Tizen for changes here into this PR
Yeah.
later. Yeah, that's it about it.
Cool. So that wasn't hard at all. Only 1,000 errors.
Yeah.
That's not much. No, great work on this. Obviously, also, we probably all know that the whole workload stuff isn't always easy to use. So even getting like the whole pipeline up and running again with the new .NET 7 preview bits and whatnot, that's been amazing. So thank you so much, Vlad, for bringing this to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. So actually, I should probably not ask you this live on stream because I should know. But is .NET MAUI now also going to bump the minimum iOS version from 10 to 11, or is that just us?
I think I grabbed it from the template, so
Okay.
that is why I also bring these changes to our library.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, but we'll see what we'll have in the final release.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to see about that. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sure. So that's going to be amazing. Then I have one that I should talk about, and I think you've talked about this on the last stream. I should have watched it back, but I didn't. I'm sorry. Because the story is that we are adding maps for .NET 7 in .NET MAUI, but the story also is unfortunately that with .NET MAUI we are having this abstract layer and we're mapping everything to what is available on the platform, and unfortunately on WinUI there isn't a dedicated maps control. So that kind of sucks because for .NET MAUI we want to have support for all the platforms and everything that comes with it. But now we find ourselves in kind of like a unique problem challenge where we could say like, hey, Windows is not supported, which is going to probably have a lot of users rightfully say like, why is there no Windows support? This is strange, right? You should have Windows support, which is you're right. And we could keep saying like, hey, it's because Windows doesn't have a maps control. But to kind of still give you some solution for that is we are implementing it for Windows with like a web view that loads Bing Maps, right? So you will have kind of like that Windows experience there. But is that something that we want to have inside of .NET MAUI and maintain? Maybe WinUI is going to come up with a dedicated maps control. So we were kind of like searching for a solution where we I don't know. We could still bring it to you, but it's kind of like less official than inside of .NET MAUI directly. So that's why we said like, hey, we were in talks with like the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit team, the .NET MAUI team. How can we solve this? Is this something that we can bring to this project and then hopefully have a solution for everyone, which is kind of like everyone is still a bit happy. So I think that's where we're landed at, and I'm going to have to finish this. How are we doing? Because I think Rui opened it at some point, and I think it was in pretty good shape. So I need to have a look at this somewhere before next week and get it done, basically.
Yeah, I'd say if, Joe, if this is something that the MAUI team, or if this is the path the MAUI team still wants to move forward with bringing this into the toolkit, then the deadline will just be getting this in before, I guess what we'll call Vlad's release, so the release before the Tizen release, so we can get .NET 6 support and make sure we don't leave anybody behind. Because if we wait, then this will only be available on .NET 7.
This is going to be .NET 7 anyway, right? Because the map support for .NET MAUI is going to be .NET 7 anyway.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Never mind.
All good.
Got plenty of time.
Solved. Boom. All right. So yeah, it should be done by then anyway. So we're gonna look into that. We're gonna make sure that this is gonna happen, and we'll have a solution for everyone and anyone. So that's gonna be great.
Cool.
Pedro,
And
I see something. Oh, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
oh yeah, just thinking logistics. So on our big release day, where we're pushing out the 2 releases with one with Tizen, one with .NET 7, yeah, maybe we can, if everything aligns and it merges easily right after we merge the .NET 7 PR, then we could bring this in. Or this could be in the first release after we push out the initial .NET 7 release, but kind of just depends on the complexity of the PRs and merge conflicts and all that fun stuff. It'll be a
Yeah,
big day
exactly.
for us.
Exactly. Like we'll just have to go and see how it all lines up, right? Ideally, we have it all. We have a big party. We have a big release, and it's going to be amazing. But if something's going to hold us back, or we're like, yeah, we're not really sure about the stability of things, maybe we want to push back something a little bit, so that we're not. Our goal is not to hit the deadline, but to give you stable and usable stuff, right? So that's our first priority. So. We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna bring it to you, and you'll be updated through these live streams, blog posts, do whatever, Twitter accounts and whatnot. It will all be available there. Then I was gonna jump over to Pedro, who has something to say about pop-up windows, which is already merged. Boom! Hooray!
Yeah, so this is more like a heads up for developers that want to create like custom controls on .NET MAUI. I don't know exactly which version of the MAUI we have this window property on auto controls, and they like that works out of the box if you inherit your control from Visual Elementor and Visual Elementor Handler, but that does not true on the Elementor and the Element Handler. So you need to implement the window support by yourself. If you don't do that, you lose a lot of capabilities of the .NET MAUI. For example, the one that I believe that is fixed is the behavior doesn't work on pop-ups, and now it kind of works. I didn't test yet, but I saw a comment on the issue from a community member, and looks like that did the job. So yeah, just be aware that if something doesn't work on your custom control, just be sure that the window property is being implemented there.
Cool. Sounds good. What else? I see something about flat and PRs for controls which require Tizen implementation. So we have the big Tizen PR. That's what I get from this. But we have a couple of controls that still need Tizen implementation. Flat, is that correct?
No, idea is a bit different. So, for example, for future controls, for example,
Right.
Yeah, how should we add Tizen support? Because, for example, I'm not familiar with Tizen, and I see from PRs that it's mostly built on Windows. If for example, I have a Mac or some other devices, how can I add it? So how can we create a pull request for it? Should we have a one pull request, and probably Jay will help us and push to the same branch, or we split it on multiple pull requests and bring them together, but probably preferable if we have it in one release.
Well, I bet most of people don't have any experience with Tizen. So, and I don't want to see anyone bothered due to Tizen. So my advice is, I'm here to help you. Probably that's why I'm in this group, right? So just go implement what you have planned, contribute your bits, and for Tizen, it's totally up to you. You can just split it with multiple peers. Just leave the loom for Tizen probably. Then probably I will just fill that up. Or if you're brave enough, a pioneer, then I would love to help. So basically, I think it's better for the first time just split it up so it doesn't get you delayed or anything.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm before I go into what I want to say, we have Constantine in the chat. and he's asking, is there a Tizen store? So can you actually put apps in a Tizen store and sell your apps there, or how does that work?
Yes, there's an app store for the TVs or other things.
Okay.
So
Cool. So
yeah,
yeah,
just-
that
yeah.
you can do that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So regarding like the whole implementation, I guess like it might be good for Jay to maybe share some things. I've had it running at some point with like the Tizen emulator and all the things. So to maybe send us some documentation or stuff on how we can set that up basically. Then for the people who have the time and willing to look into that, we can totally see if we can get it up and running and maybe play with that a little bit and see if we can implement some easy things whenever we try to implement it for all the other platforms, right? And otherwise, yeah, we're just going to be in close contact, of course. Like, hey, we have this stuff, but we can't really figure it out. So Jay, would you help us, please? The thing I'm kind of thinking of while I'm saying all this is like the practical stuff. Like Vlad, you say like, hey, we open this PR, which is fine. And then we ask Jay to commit to that, which is okay. But now, like the other Tizen PR has been done by someone from your team, right? By a person that is my root on GitHub. So maybe Jay is not going to do all the work, right? And then that person is not going to be able to commit to that branch. So that might be something that we want to think about then. But maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm not sure.
I think probably the worst case scenario is if a PR is missing support for Tizen and it breaks the CI pipeline, which I think is totally fine. That's why we have the CI pipeline there. Then that's when Jay will have to swoop in and quickly add Tizen support so we can merge that PR. But that's kind of the only blocker.
In that case, we can still kind of like make the stub, right? That we can at least like list out the public APIs, even if they're like empty methods with the Tizen file, so that the CI is still happy. But yeah, maybe we'll just have to see how that goes whenever we get there.
Let's see how it goes.
Perfect. Solve.
Yeah, and the last thing that we need to add we need to update our template feature to add Tizen checkbox there. So don't forget it.
Oh, for like the
features, yeah.
Right, gotcha. Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
The proposal template, the PR template.
Yeah.
Good call.
Good one. Yeah. Cool. So we have a little bit of time left. We're actually getting to the end of the agenda, then that's cool. I see a heading for MAUI markup, but I think we talked all about that, right, Brandon? Is there anything more that you want to say there? Okay, cool. Other, Kim, adding an aspirational milestone. This sounds very inspiring for aspirational. I don't know. What's this about?
This is about, I was just wondering, as somebody who might use this as the community toolkit, or even for us to understand what's in Milestones, in GitHub, there's a Milestones feature, and under there, we've got sort of vNext that exists there. But what we're talking about now is we've got, some versions coming up, and I'm wondering, as a project team, is it good for us to sort of add milestones in for what's going to be in, version 2 and version 3 and 2.1 and things like that, and have a bit of a roadmap? Or is that not something we want because perhaps it's not realistic, because we're just sort of, because it's a community effort, so we're sort of taking what we can get, if you know what I mean? Or do we want to be a little bit more structured in terms of milestones? And as somebody who is new to the community toolkit, I just raised that, but obviously I'm sort of seeking guidance from Brandon and Pedro and Sean and Vlad about whether that's a realistic thing to do or not, and whether it's useful for people who are using the framework to say, because I see a lot of discussions of like, hey, I really want touch effect. When's touch effect coming? And it's kind of a difficult conversation, right? Because it's like, well, it's a community effort, so it'll come when it comes, right? But it would be nice as well to be able to sort of point to a roadmap and say, we think it's coming here. I don't know. That's my TED talk. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah.
You've got opinions on this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will say, Kim, you kind of nailed it with the community part because, yeah, a lot of things we don't control. You know, there's only a couple of us, and we contribute in our nights and weekends, but we can't do everything. And so, yeah, the concern we had when we first started was we can't make the community come in and open a PR for Touch Effect. You know, somebody's going to have to do that, or somebody on our team will have to volunteer to set aside that time. And so that's kind of why we have the V Next milestone where, yeah, we put things that we knew was going to be coming up and tried not to plan too much, because if we say Touch Effect's coming in the next release, but we don't have somebody in the community to do it, then it's not coming. But I'd say definitely for now, you know, we've just talked about 3 releases of which we know exactly what's going to be in them. So I'll take the action item for at least the short term to go create a release for, gosh, version 1.4.0, version 2.0.0, and version 3.0. But yeah, I'm certain there's a better way we could do things. And to be honest, Kim, when you said aspirational milestone, I was kind of thinking maybe there's a milestone that doesn't mean it's coming, but like these are our top priority milestones, or like this is where anybody in the community that wants to contribute and have a big impact could come in and grab one of these aspirational proposals or in the aspirational milestone. But yeah, no,
as a form of prioritization, essentially. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really nice to have some kind of prioritized list, as well as a kind of some level of status of what each item. So you could say Touch Effect is there, it's on the top of our list, but it's not been started. No one's actually made a start yet.
Actually, it started. I just look in the issue and I see that I forgot to vote it, but the Android implementation is done and I needed to to do the rest. But yeah, we can vote next month because I probably will not finish that this month yet. At least we need that like ASAP, then I can change priorities and go to that.
Probably our priority is just to migrate what we had in Xamarin Community Toolkit. It probably should have a high priority just to help people migrate from Xamarin to .NET MAUI. And after that, we can focus on bringing in new features. And also bug fixes are probably always in some way in the top of our priority, just because we want to have a stable and satisfy our users, get a positive feedback.
Not to introduce more work on our part, but talking about migration from Xamarin to MAUI, we've obviously got things like state layout, which has now become state container. So there isn't a like for like, just replace these little bits and it'll just magically work. We are moving things across and we're making them better at the same time, or making them fit the paradigm of .NET MAUI rather than Xamarin. Should we be documenting a migration path?
Not to volunteer somebody else, but you know, Kim, you did an awesome blog post on the last release. Is that something you'd be interested in doing a blog post on? You know, I guess pick a couple features, right? Especially ones that don't align one-to-one, like state layout to state containers, what we call it in the .NET MAUI toolkit, to demonstrate something like that.
I'd be happy to assist in some of that as well, because I wrote most of the docs in the initial phase, so I should have an idea of what's changed.
Yeah, I don't know if it would go in the docs though. Would it?
Not in the docs, but I mean, I have some
context.
context. I should have some context of what's changed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we should probably be planning for some blog posts anyway, right? With Tizen support, yeah, Jay, and also .NET 7 stuff, right? That's big things, right? So
yeah,
might be time to pull that out, and we can include in that upgrading.
Cool. Is that something you're comfortable with continuing on with, Kim, being our go-to blog poster?
I don't know if anyone really wants that job, but I can help out.
Or at least help us get it published. If Sean did a guest blog post, you could get it on the official blog.
Oh yeah, I know the process. No, but absolutely, I can lead up that. Yep, no problems at all.
Cool.
Thank you.
I see some things about roadmaps and stuff in the chat as well. George is kind of like going agile sprint planning. I don't even want to go there. But he's right. He says like, we have no control over who is going to come in when and work on specific things, right? Because like Brandon already mentioned earlier, like we're all doing this in our spare time, right? And I had a live stream with Sam Basu from Progress earlier where it also came up kind of like, it's maybe not transparent to everyone because this is also kind of very closely related to Microsoft stuff, right? But this is something that I'm doing here in my spare time as well. It's now 8 p.m., 9 p.m. by now. So this is just because I love the product and I want to do awesome stuff beside my work, right? So this is all things that we're doing next to our day jobs and we're not getting paid for it, basically. So we can't really control when something's going in, but he also says, George, like, hey, it should at least be possible to say what kind of should go into the next release, right? So we can determine what priority-wise is the most important to us. We're going to say that this is going to come to our next release, probably, well, not probably, we're going to determine this is our priority, that's what we're working on for the next release. But when that's going to be exactly, that's going to be a bit harder to actually figure out, right? So that might be a way to go about this.
Yeah, I think we already have a milestone like we next, and also we have a Kanban board where we can like prioritize some things, so we can follow this way, and like a tool which can help us to do it.
I always have to think of when I hear Kanban board. I always have to think like, and now it's kind of appropriate when Jay is here. What a Kanban board? No. I'm sorry. I don't know why I make that association. All right. He's actually North Korean, isn't he? Was it South Korean? I don't know.
South Korea it is.
South Korean. Yeah, right. North Korean, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm not too familiar with that part of the world. Anyway, with this very bad ending of this show, embarrassing everyone. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for joining us once more in this live stream where we talk about mostly useful things and some bad jokes. I hope you will join us for, are we going to do next month? Probably. That's right before all the holiday stuff, right, in December. So we're about to squeeze in before everyone has time off and those kind of things. So we're planning to be there on the regular schedule.
I mean, if you're on vacation, enjoy the vacation. But...
Exactly. And Vlad is saying we're celebrating .NET 7, so we'll bring our party hats and have a little party, celebrate. Woohoo! All right. See you next time. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.